Hello! Another month has come and gone, and with it are the books that I've read. I'm recording on my phone this month, so it might be a little bit different. I don't know, we'll see. So, this month, I got through another 7 books. So in the 2 months of my summer break, I got through 14 books. I guess I finished one yesterday, and I'm still on break. So, I mean, depends on what you look at as break. So, starting with my first book, it's called Why She Wrote, a graphic history of the lives, inspiration, and influence behind the pens of classic women writers by Lauren Burke and Hannah K. Chapman, and illustrated by Kaylee Bales. So, it is written as a graphic novel, but at the beginning of each, section, it gives a little history of the author's life. So, Charlotte Bronte, it would give, a little history, and then from that history, it would pick, a moment in time, a moment that they struggled or were up against something challenging, and then it would talk about that in the graphic novel. I gave it 4 stars. I probably would have given it 5 stars, but I was a little bummed that it only talked about, classics, if that makes sense. I was hoping maybe Toni Morrison might peek her head in, or, different authors that are more contemporary. It ended, the last one, and it mostly went in order from, of chronological order, but the last one was Louisa May Alcott, and she died in 1888. So that was was the last entry. So there have been a lot of what I would consider classic authors since then that were not included. So just a personal critique. 4 stars, highly recommend. Goes really fast because it's written mostly as a graphic novel. If you're just interested in some of the female authors that wrote the classics, highly recommend. Next, I've been working on this one for a while. It's called Embrace Your Weird, Face Your Fears and Unleash Creativity. It's by Felicia Day. She's an actress. There she is on the back. You might recognize her from some things. I was hoping to channel my creativity because I don't consider myself to be a very creative person. But a lot of it was written as a journal, and it had drawing prompts and things like that, which is not my specialty. I'm not an artist. I'm doing a paint by numbers back here, which is about as artistic as I get. But it was definitely, if you're trying to channel your inner artist, I think this would be for you. I don't know if I'm just not creative or if I lack imagination. My anxiety begs to differ, but maybe I just lack creative energy. I don't know. Not my favorite thing. I didn't look forward to reading it every day. I gave it 3 stars because I understand its purpose. I understand that there are people that this would benefit. I just wasn't really one of them. And maybe she's a very quirky person, but some of it seemed like forced quirkiness, if that makes sense. She was trying to be quirkier than she was. Maybe that's just who she is. I don't know. 3 stars, not my cup of tea, but I understand its purpose. Next is Dancing Girls and Other Stories by Margaret Atwood. When I was in college, I promised myself that I would read my way through Margaret Atwood's bibliography, or, her produced works. I promised myself I would make it through the novels, and for some reason I decided I was gonna do a short stories book. It was a long time ago. I don't know what was going through my head. I struggle with short stories because they're not my medium. It takes me a little bit longer to get connected to characters. So short stories have never been really my cup of tea because they're short and I don't get as connected to the story. But it was decent. I gave it 3 stars again because it was well written. There were some stories that I enjoyed. There were other stories that I kind of just trudged through. Which I hate to say because Margaret Atwood is one of my favorite authors. But I should have known. Short stories aren't necessarily my thing. When I was growing up, I hated poetry. It wasn't my thing. And then I kind of got into poetry. And short stories have kind of been my, not my favorite. So, I gave it 3 stars. Again, well written. There's somebody out there that will love this because they like reading short stories. It wasn't me. Next was, I guess I could call it professional development. It's not professional development through school or anything. I'm not getting hours for it. But I just decided I was going to read it one day when I was at school. I picked it up off the shelf and decided I was going to read it straight through, which is, I don't think necessarily what you're supposed to do with these types of books, but I'm not great at skimming. So this is called Activities, Games, and Assessment Strategies for the Foreign Language Classroom, and it is by Amy Buttner, and it is exactly that. It had one section that was activities, so individual activities, pair activities, group activities, and then there was the next section, it was games. You know, I put my little sticky tabs in so that I could keep track of them. There were some, I kept a list of the ones I liked. So out of the whole book, these were the ones that I thought I could implement in my room. I'm not sure exactly what level this is for. A lot of the activities seemed, I don't know if I could get my kids to buy into them. And then on the other hand, a lot of them seemed really, really hard. Like really challenging. So there was a big range of activities there. I liked it. I gave it 3. Again, sorry, I'm being pretty boring. It fulfilled its purpose. I will keep it and hopefully implement some of the strategies in it. And, yeah. Next was Bag of Bones by Stephen King. This is from 1998 or 9, I want to say. So we're getting a little bit out of the drug-fueled era. Not all the way, but some of these more recent books have been really, like, longer than necessary. And it just kind of feels like they've been dragging on, and it's hard to get through some of them. This one was really good. It wasn't like scary, I would say. It was definitely more of a ghost story, like a classic ghost story. But it also had a little bit of like mystery, like you were guessing up until the end. So just a quick synopsis rundown. A guy, Mike, loses his wife and finds out that when she died, she was pregnant. And he, you know, tries to go through all that, and he's an author, but because of this, or for whatever reason, he gets writer's block. He can't write anymore. So he decides to go to their summer home, and it's just a small town up by Castle Rock, which is another of Stephen King's fictional towns. And there are some strange events happening. He meets a young mom and her daughter that are going through kind of a custody battle. The grandpa wants custody of the kid and is trying to make the mom look like she's doing a bad job as being a mom. So he gets wrapped up in that and gets involved with trying to help the mom. And while he's in the house, there are some ghosty happenings, and it all ends up tying together really well in the end. Why the ghosts were there and trying to talk to him, and it was good. I gave it 4 stars. To tell you the truth, I don't know what it was holding me back from 5 stars, other than I know what a 5-star Stephen King is, and this wasn't quite there, if that makes any sort of sense, which it probably doesn't, but just, it made sense to me. Great book. Read it. I enjoyed it. It would definitely be one that I would recommend of his. There are some that I would not. The next one is our August book club book. So I was a little bit ahead of time with this one. It's called Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel, and it was spooky, if you can't tell from the cover. It's about a woman. Her name is Maeve. She was raised in a community, and you find out a little bit more about the community, but she was raised with her cousin, and they are separated, and as an adult, she ends up getting back into contact with her cousin, and her cousin has, she's married, and she has this business, where she creates lifelike dolls for, like, grieving mothers or, preparing mothers, people who want a lifelike doll, which is a thing. And Maeve gets more and more invested in Andrea's life, the cousin's life, and gets involved in some things. And I don't want to give anything away. It was spooky. Not ghost spooky, but like cult spooky. So if you're into a good cult read, this would be one for you. You might want to look up some trigger warnings for it, so that you don't get surprised. Same for Bag of Bones. I should have mentioned, Bag of Bones has a relatively graphic sexual assault scene that was disturbing. So you might want to check the page numbers for that if you were interested in reading it. This is not graphic by any means. Just, you know, be careful. It was good. I gave it 4 stars. It went super fast. It was one of those, like, I really wanted to know if I was right, like if my predictions were right, and so I just kept reading, and it took me no time. Really good. So I'm excited to meet with the book club and talk about this one, because I want to know what they think. The last one I read, which I didn't think I was going to get through, is called The Diary of a Teenage Girl, and it's by Phoebe Gloeckner. And it is really interestingly written as well. It's written by the author using her diary entries from when she was a kid. So she's basically like novelized her growing up time, if that makes sense. So it's written in like a diary form, so like dated like a diary, but then she also includes some of her like comics. She ended up drawing comics, so she included some of those. So it's really easy to read. It goes really fast also because it's got pictures, which is always a plus for me. I would call it a Bildungsroman, or however it is you say that word, a coming-of-age story, but it's set in the 70s in Los Angeles. So it's heavily steeped in the drug culture of that time period. She's only 15 during the time that the story is written, and she's having an affair with her mom's boyfriend, and she's doing all sorts of things that you do not want your 15-year-old to be doing. It was good. It was not... I actually don't know why I bought this book, if I'm being honest. Maybe I just looked inside and thought it looked cool. But I bought it probably about 10 years ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and it finally was its turn to get read. And I didn't really have any expectations because I didn't really know, like, what it was. So I can't say that it's not what I was expecting because I don't know what I was expecting. But it was good. It was a quick read. It was a bummer, but the end is not a bummer, if that makes sense. Like, it has a good ending. So if you're into kind of like a 1970s kid going through the angsty times of teenagedom. This is pretty good. I guess it would almost be like if Holden Caulfield were alive in the 70s and were also a girl on drugs. So that was a bit of a stretch, so maybe nothing like that. But it's the same, like, you know, working your way through the angsty and all these people are fakes and, you know, the phonies. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars too. I was impressed with my reads. Nothing below a 3, but I didn't have any 5 stars this month. But, you know, it happens. So if you, once again, have any books that you think I should be putting on my TBR, let me know, and I will get them going. I'm currently working on, I am almost done with another Stephen King, and then I'm working on the book for September's book club and a couple others. Slowly trudging through Les Mis. It's very rare that I get to page 518 and I'm only 36% of the way through the book. But it is what it is, and I'll get there and it'll be great. So I will see you next month, and I hope everyone has a nice August. Bye.